The sun hadn't fully risen over Naval Base Coronado when Sarah Chen first stepped into the armory workshop. The air smelled of gun oil and metal shavings. She was 23, fresh out of advanced training, assigned to weapons maintenance for SEAL Team 5. The men barely looked up when she entered. To them, she was just another mechanic, quiet, small, always with grease under her fingernails. They didn't know her story. They didn't know that before the Navy, she grew up in rural Montana, where her father taught her to shoot before she could ride a bike. They didn't know about the competitions she won, the records she set. She'd never mentioned it. Sarah believed in one thing: let your work speak. For 3 months, she did exactly that. She arrived before dawn, left after dark. Every rifle she touched came back flawless. Every scope she calibrated was perfect. The SEALs started requesting her specifically for their weapons, but they still saw her as just the mechanic, the girl who fixed their guns, nothing more. That was fine with her. She wasn't there for recognition. She was there because she believed in the mission, in protecting the team, in doing her part. But respect, that would have to be earned a different way. And on a Tuesday morning in October, everything changed. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes was the kind of SEAL who commanded attention the moment he entered a room. 6'3", decorated combat veteran, respected by everyone on base. But he had old-school views about women in combat roles. He never said it directly, he was too smart for that, but Sarah could feel it in the way he barely acknowledged her when picking up his rifle. On this particular morning, Hayes and his team were preparing for range qualification. Sarah had just finished rebuilding his M4 from the ground up. New barrel, new trigger assembly, perfectly zeroed. Hayes inspected it with barely a glance. "Hope it shoots as good as it looks, mechanic," he said, his tone dismissive. His team chuckled. Sarah said nothing, just nodded. As they headed to the range, one of the younger SEALs, Rodriguez, lingered behind. "Don't take it personal," he said quietly. "Hayes is old guard. Thinks women belong in support roles only." Sarah wiped her hands on her coveralls. "His opinion doesn't change my job," she replied. But Rodriguez saw something in her eyes, not anger, but quiet determination. "You know," he said carefully, "there's a base-wide shooting competition next month, open to all personnel. Winners get to train with DevGru for a week." Sarah looked up. "SEAL Team 6. Rodriguez nodded. "Yeah, but Hayes has won it 3 years running. Nobody even comes close." Sarah returned to her workbench, but Rodriguez noticed she was thinking about something deep. Sarah didn't tell anyone she was entering the competition. She registered under her full names, Chun, which could be anyone. For the next 4 weeks, she did something she hadn't done since joining the Navy. She trained like she used to. Every evening after her shift, she went to the auxiliary range on the far side of the base, where few people trained. She ran drills her father taught her, breathing exercises, trigger control, reading wind, moving targets, stress positions. She trained in the dark, in the rain, in the wind. She pushed herself until her hands stopped shaking, until every shot was muscle memory. The base-wide competition drew 68 participants: SEALs, Marines, Army Rangers, even some support staff who thought they could shoot. The crowd was thick. The atmosphere was electric. When they announced the registered shooters, Sarah's name appeared on the board. A few people looked around, confused. "Who's Chen?" someone asked. Lieutenant Hayes was already at the firing line, confident, relaxed. He'd won this so many times it was routine. The competition had 5 stages: precision rifle at 300 yards, pistol speed drill, moving targets, stress course with multiple weapons, and finally the judging stage, a single shot at 600 yards with wind. Only the top 5 would make it to the final stage. Sarah shot in the middle pack. She didn't stand out. She kept her head down, her movements economical and precise. But those who knew weapons noticed something. She never missed, not once. By stage 3, whispers started spreading. "Who is that? Where'd she come from?" By stage 4, Hayes noticed. The quiet mechanic from the armory was outpacing everyone except him. His jaw tightened. The final stage came down to 3 shooters: Hayes, a Marine sniper named Jackson, and Sarah. 600 yards, 1 shot, wind gusting at 12 miles per hour from the northwest. Hayes went first, center mass, perfect shot. The crowd erupted. Jackson went second, just outside center, still excellent. Then Sarah stepped up. The entire base seemed to hold its breath. Sarah approached the rifle, a standard M110, not even her preferred weapon. She didn't rush. She took her time getting into position, checking the scope, feeling the wind on her face. Someone in the crowd muttered, "She's nervous." But Rodriguez, watching from the side, knew better. He'd seen that look before. That wasn't nerves, that was focus. Sarah's breathing slowed. The world narrowed to just her and the target. She calculated windage, elevation, distance. Her finger rested on the trigger. The crowd was silent. Even Hayes was watching now, arms crossed, curious despite himself. The shot cracked through the air like thunder. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the spotter's voice came over the radio, shocked, dead center X-ring. Perfect shot. The crowd exploded. People were looking at each other in disbelief. Rodriguez was grinning, but Hayes just stood there, staring at the target board. The range officer announced the winner. Petty Officer Sarah Chen, the quiet mechanic nobody paid attention to, had just outshot the best operators on the base. As Sarah stood up, removing her ear protection, Hayes walked over. The crowd went quiet again, sensing tension. Hayes stopped in front of her. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he extended his hand. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" he asked. And this time there was no dismissiveness in his tone, only genuine respect. Sarah shook his hand firmly. "Montana," she said simply. "My father taught me before I could drive. Been shooting competitively since I was 12. 3-time national champion." Hayes blinked. "Why didn't you go sniper track?" Sarah met his eyes. "Because I wanted to support the team. Every operator needs someone making sure their weapon won't fail when it matters most. That's where I can make the biggest difference." Hayes nodded slowly, understanding dawning. "You've been calibrating my rifle for 3 months." "Yes, sir. It's never shot better." "That's the job, sir." 2 weeks later, Sarah received her orders. 1 week cross-training with DevGru at Dam Neck, Virginia. But something else happened that meant more than any training opportunity. Lieutenant Hayes called a team meeting. In front of his entire platoon, he did something Sarah never expected. He acknowledged his bias. "I made assumptions about Petty Officer Chen," he told his team. "I judged her role before knowing her capability. That's not just wrong, it's dangerous. In combat, assumptions get people killed. Talent comes in every form, every background. Our job is to recognize it, respect it, and use it to make this team stronger." He turned to Sarah. "You've been maintaining our weapons for months. You've saved our lives 100 times over without us even knowing it. From now on, you're not just our armorer. You're part of this team. If you ever want to pursue sniper training, I'll personally recommend you." Sarah nodded, her expression neutral but her eyes showing emotion for the first time. "I appreciate that, sir, but I'm exactly where I want to be. Making sure every operator comes home safe. That's my mission." The room was silent. Then Rodriguez started clapping. Others joined. Soon the entire team was applauding. After the meeting, Sarah returned to her workshop. The tools, the rifles, the smell of gun oil, it was home. She wasn't doing this for glory or recognition. She was doing it because she believed in something bigger than herself. She believed in the team. Rodriguez stopped by later that evening. "You know what the guys are calling you now?" he asked. Sarah looked up from the rifle she was cleaning. "What?" "The Silent Guardian. Because you protect us without ever needing to say a word." Sarah smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "I can live with that." Rodriguez nodded. "Hayes is different now. You changed something in him. In all of us, actually." "That wasn't the goal," Sarah said, "but maybe it needed to happen." As Rodriguez left, Sarah returned to her work. Tomorrow there would be more rifles to maintain, more scopes to calibrate, more missions to prepare for. The work never stopped. But now, when the operators came to pick up their weapons, they looked her in the eye. They asked her opinion. They treated her like the professional she'd always been. Respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated. Sarah Chen never needed to prove herself with words. She did it the only way that mattered, through skill, dedication, and the quiet courage of doing her job perfectly, every single time. That's what makes a true warrior. Not the loudest voice or the biggest ego, but the steady hands that keep everyone else alive. And at Naval Base Coronado, those hands belonged to a mechanic with grease under her fingernails and a gift that saved lives.